So recently the developers over at Dynamic Content for Elementor reached out to me and asked me would I create a short series of video tutorials to demonstrate some of the key features inside their product. Well, this is the first in a 6-part series of video tutorials where I'm going to do just that. This first one is all about dynamic repeater regions, something that Advanced Custom Fields Pro offers that is very, very powerful. The problem is if you want to use a tool like Elementor Pro to use the repeater regions, historically it's not been very easy, and native support, well, it's basically not there. However, this plugin and this particular widget makes the whole process very, very simple. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to do just that. Now this is a sponsored video, so bear that in mind, but I'm going to give you no opinions, nothing at all. This is all about demonstrating how to use the different functions. It's up to you then if you want to take advantage of this particular tool. However, all the links are in the description below. They're affiliate links where applicable, so you help support the channel if you look to pick up this product. Well, let's just jump over to the dashboard now and start taking a look at how we can use these tools. So using dynamic content for Elementor makes creating repeater regions with advanced custom fields insanely easy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you first of all what a repeater region is, or repeater field is, so that you can kind of get a feel for what's happening, and then I'm going to take you through the process of setting things up, and we'll go through everything right the way up to creating our end results. So if we jump over into the dashboard, I'm already inside one of my custom post types for recipes, and as you can see, we've got a section at the bottom which is a repeater section. So what this really means is that I can keep on adding nutritional information in this example as many times as I want, and then the template, advanced custom fields, and all those things are going to work together to make sure that I've got enough space to put all these details in, and I don't have to worry about creating templates for all manner of different sort of content. So as you can see, I've got 3 sections inside here at the moment. If I want to add another one in, I can easily do that. And we can just simply come in and just insert whatever information that I want inside here. And we'll just see, we'll just put in some random things. So we'll just say 30%. So I've now added in another section for my nutritional information. I can come up now and I can just hit the update, and that will now save that information inside my custom post type. Now if I jump over and take a look at the actual page itself, you'll see now the nutritional information in the top right hand corner now has our new entry for trans fats. So I can just keep on adding, and this will allow me to sort of show that data with everything I put in there. So how do we go about doing that? First of all, let's take a look at how we create these repeating regions or repeating fields inside Advanced Custom Fields. Now, before we start creating the repeater fields, the most important thing to note is that you are going to require Advanced Custom Fields Pro. This is one of those extra features inside the Pro version, and you can't do this with just the free version. So with that out of the way, let's take a look at how we go about actually creating our own repeater fields. So from the dashboard, we're going to come down to our custom fields section. Now, if you haven't created a field group yet, you just go through the normal process of creating it using the add new option. However, we're going to take a look at a field group I've already created for recipes, and I'm going to show you inside there how our actual repeater is set up. So I'm going to come into our field groups. Once we're inside there, there's my recipe. So I'm going to click to open the recipes option up. Now all the normal fields are inside here. We've got a selection of things like text fields, text area, and so on. However, we've also got a nutritional information section, which as you can see is set as a repeater. If we expand that, you can see we've got the normal options at the top, the field name, the label, the field type, and so on. So the field type has been set as repeater. Once we do that, it opens up the subfield section. Now the easiest way to consider subfields is a repeater is just a container for a group of subfields. And your subfields can be any normal field type inside Advanced Custom Fields. So as you can see, I've got 3 custom subfields inside here. We've got nutrition type, value, and daily value. All of those are set to be text. However, you can still create any kind of subfield that you want. So let me just demonstrate what I mean. Let's open up this nutrition type first of all. So we can expand that. Inside there, you can see everything is laid out in the same way of any other normal meta field inside Advanced Custom Fields. You can put your field name, your field label, the field type, and again, like I say, you can choose any of the field types that are available as part of Advanced Custom Fields Pro. We scroll down, all the normal options are there, so nothing that you haven't already seen if you've used ACF in the past. Let's close that down. If I wanted to add another field in, you can see I can easily come in and say add field, go through the process then of just inserting whatever kind of field I want. That will become a subfield inside our repeater, and that will be part of the whole repeater region section. So I'm going to delete that just to get rid of it, because hopefully what you can see is it's no real difference to what you're already used to doing when working with Advanced Custom Fields anyway. There are other couple of options that you have available to you, things like collapsed. Select the subfield to show when the row is collapsed, so you can just choose from any of the subfields you created there. Minimum rows, maximum rows, the layout. Now the layout just basically denotes what kind of layout you want to use inside the dashboard. This is nothing to do with the front end of the site. So the table will show a nice simple table layout, a block or a row. It's up to you, and I would suggest just taking a look at those to see how they impact the design inside your custom post type. And the final option of note is the button label. And you can just basically leave it as the default for add row, or if you want to be a little bit more custom, you can just put in whatever label you want to use on there. So it could be add new nutrition information, whatever you kind of want. So that's how you set up your custom fields. That's how you set your field groups, and that's how we create the repeater field. With that all in place, when you come over then into your actual recipe, in this example, I'm going to come over and take a look and just open one of these up. What we end up with then is this section at the bottom that allows us to put in new rows, as many as we want. And as you can see, this is set up to be the normal sort of layout. We can change that if we want to, and the add row button is just left as add row. But we could, like I say, change that if we want to. So with those things in place, we've got all the information we need. However, out of the box, Elementor and Elementor Pro don't allow us to use repeater regions without getting in there and hand coding things. So we need to use third-party plugins to do things like this. So dynamic content for Elementor is one of the easiest ones that I've found to start working with this kind of repeater region. So let's take a look at how we're going to do it. First of all, let's take a look at what we have in the end result. Now come over and you can see on the right hand side in this section, there's our nutritional information. And as you can see, we've got multiple rows inside there, and each recipe could have different information. And this is where the beauty of repeater regions come in. So how do we go about inserting that in there? Well, there's a couple of things we can do. We can use one of the default layouts, or we can get a little bit more customized. And I'm going to show you both of those methods in this video. So the first thing I'm going to do is use one of the predefined layouts that come as part of dynamic content for Elementor. So let's take a look at that first. Now, as you probably noticed, I've already created the layout that we're going to be using as part of a previous tutorial on how to use advanced custom fields. I'll put a link to that in the description if you'd like to take a look at the full video and see how you can utilize various different things alongside what we're going to cover in this video. However, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be taking one of the templates I've set up for the individual recipe, and we're going to customize that. So to do that, we're going to come over to the template section and down into the theme builder option. From there, we're going to choose the default recipe template. We're going to edit that with Elementor. And as you can see on the right-hand column, we've got the placeholder ready for our nutritional information. Now, before I show you the final way of doing this, where we create a custom layout for this, I just want to demonstrate a couple of ways you can use this particular widget as part of dynamic content for Elementor. So let's come to the bottom of the page, and we're going to use this place underneath just so I can demonstrate what I'm talking about. So the first thing we're going to do is go and choose the widget that we need. So if we just come in and just type in repeat, you can see I've got the ACF repeater. Now you can ignore this other one. This is a different plugin as part of a previous video. We're only interested in this one, and you can see we've got the little icon in the top right hand corner that tells us this is part of the dynamic content for Elementor plugin. Now this is something that I wish a lot more plugins would do, so we can easily identify which plugin we're using just by that nice little icon in the top right hand corner. So we're going to drag and drop that into our design. Now it doesn't really matter too much where it goes. As you can see, that's now placed underneath. Let's make a bit of space for that. And what we're going to do is come over to our advanced section, and we're just going to say we want to put a bit of padding at the top of that, and we'll put something like 50 pixels in there. Okay, so you can see it says, please select an ACF repeater field. So what it's waiting for us to do is tell it what repeater field do we actually want to reference to be able to display content. So we come back to our content section. You can see we have a single option at the top that says ACF repeater. Click on there, and any repeater fields we have as part of this current website will be listed in that drop-down list. Now for this example, we only have one, which is the nutritional information repeater. So we're going to select that, and you can see that immediately pulls in some data. So we've got the nutrition type, nutrition value, and daily percentage value. So the three different repeater subfields that we set up. So all those are being listed inside there. Now underneath, we've got three different kinds of display modes. We've got the repeater, which just basically outputs the repeater information. You've then got the HTML and the token, and finally we have template. Now for today, we're going to concentrate primarily on the repeater and the template options, and we will in the future take a look at the token as part of working with dynamic content for Elementor. However, what we can do now is we can go through and set up various different things. If we want to, we can edit and style anything inside each of these different subfields. So the item, the style, the link, dynamic information, whether we show it or not. So there's a lot of options available to customize exactly what we want in there. We can also go through and show row items. So if we wanted to get rid of a first item, for example, we could say first, last, and so on. So there's a couple of options that can be useful in there depending upon what you want to do. Jump over to the options section. You can see if we're working with images, we can specify what size image is going to be used, the global alignment, and also the alignment based upon the device that's being viewed, column spacing, row spacing, and so on. So we can do the normal things you'd expect to style and configure all the different options. What we're interested though is the render option. And what this allows us to do is to choose various different parameters for how we want to display this information. So you can see we can choose render as, and we've got some options inside there. We've got grid, masonry, and so on. So currently it's set to grid. Let's say table with no template. We'll choose that, and you can see that now immediately puts into a nice looking template, all set up in a nice table. Currently, we don't have anything for the headers on there, the table head, so we can enable that if we want to. So now we have nutrition type, value, and so on. So that's pretty cool. We can get in and we can fine tune exactly how this data is going to be shown, and we can choose from previously designed templates that we can use to render this out. If we want to though, we can come in and we can say we wanted to use it in a list, at which point we can then choose what type of list that we want. And obviously you can come into the settings and you can configure this and style this in a little bit more detail. So personally, I quite like the table option, but obviously it depends upon what you want to do. And if you're using images, it could be quite nice to use the slider carousel or the masonry option. So you have a lot of options available inside here for how you want to configure everything. Right the way down to using this natural. I'm not too sure what that's meant to be. I kind of think that might be a bit of a spelling mistake. However, like I say, I like the table, no template, and set that up. Looks pretty cool. Under the settings, as you can see, we've got the dynamic content and it's set to source. Now, this is something that can probably lead to a little bit of confusion. What it really means is that currently what we're doing is the data that will be used to populate this particular section, this particular repeater section, is pulled from this specific page or post that we're looking at. So in this example, we're looking at the custom post type for recipes, and we're looking at the fiery chili soup and vegetables. So that's the nutritional information that's being displayed. But you may not want that to be the case. So what you can do is you can change the source, uncheck same, and then you can choose where do you want to pull your data from. So you can see you've got things like post title, but you can go in and you can search and configure what you want to pull the data from. So this is something that could be quite useful. For this example, we're not going to worry because we want to have the data being pulled from the post that we're currently viewing. That's how easy it is to just simply output your data from a repeater field directly inside your template without the need to go through and style things. So that's pretty cool. I like that. Next thing we're going to take a look at though is how we use the template option, because, well, ultimately we want to build this into the layout that we want to use. In other words, I want control over where things are positioned, the styling, the fonts, and all those kinds of things to fit into the design that we're working with up in the top right hand section. So let's take a look at how we can use the template options next. Now, dynamic content for Elementor makes it very easy to go through the process of creating our own layouts for the repeater regions. So what we're going to do is we're going to come into the template section of Elementor Pro. We're going to come down to saved templates. And once we're inside there, we're going to come in and choose section. And that allows us now to create our own custom section. Now the section, if you just think of it, is just basically a small portion of the page. So if you consider the normal templates you'd have as Elementor, you can have headers, you can have call to actions, you can have services and so on. And these blocks, these little sections can be loaded into your page design. We're going to create our own custom section using this technique. So we're going to say add new, choose section if it's not already selected, and we're just going to call this nutrition. And we're going to say create template. So once that's done, that's going to take us over into the Elementor editor, at which point we can then start building things out. So we're going to close this down. We don't want to use any of the predefined blocks. We're going to close that out, and we're now going to come in and just set everything up. Now you can ignore the headers and the footers and stuff because these are all going to be ignored anyway. All Elementor cares about is this section in the middle, which is the actual content we want to work with. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a new one row, one column set. From there, we're just going to come in and we're going to just choose to set up everything now the way we want. So boxed is perfectly fine. Column gaps, we're going to set to no gap. And we're going to specify that we want this to be positioned in the middle. Then we're going to come back over. Now, you can set this up in any way you want. This is just an example for what we are doing to put this nutritional information in. So just take this as an idea of what kind of thing you can do. So we're going to drop in an inner section. And from there, we're going to go in and add in the data that we want. Now for this to work correctly, we need to use the dynamic content for Elementor widgets for ACF. So we're going to type in ACF, and from there you can see we've got ACF fields, gallery, and so on. We want the ACF fields. I'm going to drag and drop that into there. So you can see we've got the fields list. So we're going to click and expand that out. And now we've got a list of all of the different fields we can pull in from. So if we scroll down, you can see nutritional information, which is the section that we created with our embedded subfields. So what we're going to do first of all is we've got nutrition type, we've got all those kinds of things. So we want nutrition type first of all. So you can see that will now pull in the data for that particular section. Now, if you're not seeing anything, that's because we need to tell it how to pull in the data or what data we want to pull in. So we're going to come down to the settings section, come into preview, and from there, we're just going to come down and we're going to say we want to come down and choose a recipe. And then from there, we're going to just choose, and we'll say we'll put the chili in again, just because it's an easy one to find. So we say fire chili, apply and preview. And we should then find that pulls in the data. So now we've got some data we can see, so we can start styling and setting everything up the way we need to. So there's the first part. Next thing we want to do is pull in some additional data. So we're going to right click and we're going to say duplicate, and we're going to do that one more time. Duplicate it again. I'm going to drag this option over to the right hand side and then simply change the values inside these. So total fat needs to change from that to the nutritional value. And there we go. And with the last one, we're going to just select that and we're going to come over and just choose the right value for there, which is the % of the daily value. Okay, so we've now got the information being pulled in from our repeater region, or at least one entry of it. Next thing we need to do is deal with the fact that we need to have these next to each other. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on this first field for the total fat. We're going to come over to the advanced tab, and from there we're going to scroll down until we get to positioning. From there we're going to just choose, set that to inline auto, then do exactly the same then for the next value. So we're going to come into advanced, scroll down to positioning and set that to be inline auto as well. So now they line up nice and neat next to each other. All we need to do is select the first one, and we're just going to put a little bit of padding on the right hand side of that, just so we can just have a bit of space in between. So there we go. Now what we can do with this, and this is something that comes in really nice, is we can set additional information after it. So we can put the before, the prefix and the suffix in there. So we're going to choose this value for percentage. And what we're going to do is we're going to come over and just change that. So you can see text before and text after. Now these can, if they want to be used as dynamic content, you could do that. So you could set a custom field up to specify exactly what goes before or after this entry. However, all we need to do is put a % after, and you can see now that puts 20% in, so it knows exactly what we're talking about. And finally, we're just going to set that to be right aligned. So there's the basics. We've created the repeater section. That's the template for a repeater. So what we're going to do now is hit publish on there. That now tells us it's been published, so we can come out of this, exit to our dashboard, and then come back into our template. So we're going to come into our theme builder. We're going to find our default recipe template and edit that with Elementor. So this is going to be the template now again for our single post that'll have the details about the recipe we're working with. So once that's loaded in, we can come over now to the right hand section and we can drop that in there. So we're going to come back in again, search for repeater, drag the widget over to where we need it to be, which is just underneath there. Drop that in there, and again you can see we're being asked, can you choose the repeater region you want to work with? So we're going to select that, choose the right repeater. You can see it pulls it in using the predefined layers like we saw earlier on. However, if we choose the option for template, we can now choose what template we want to use. Click on there. So we're just going to type in nutrition, and that'll search for any of the Elementor templates that match that criteria. So what we want is, we've got nutrition, which is the one we just created. Let's select that. And you can see that now changes over to show some right information. However, we need to set it up to know exactly what render method we want. So we're going to come to render again. And inside there, we're going to change that over to table, no template. And you can see that now immediately picks up everything we needed to do. We don't need a table head in there because we've already put those in as part of our design. So there's the basics of creating that repeater region. Now I can go back and I can style that to make sure everything looks the way I want it to. So I can just simply jump back into the template we just created for that repeater, and then I can edit things inside there, and that'll then replace the designs you can see here with whatever we set up and configure. However, it's a very easy process to be able to drop these in, create custom repeater regions, put those into our design, create templates, or use any of the predefined templates as part of dynamic content for Elementor. This just makes the whole process crazy simple. So I've just gone ahead, applied a little bit of styling to it. As you can see, just made the text bold to start off with, changed the way the actual nutritional information is going to be displayed, and also just styled and colored in the actual percentage values. So we'll update this template. What we're going to do is we're going to jump over and take a look at this now in action. So let's come over. There's our template before. So let's just refresh the page, and that should now start showing all that nutritional information, all styled the way we want it to inside our custom template. So that's what we need to do. We've gone ahead and done it, and I also showed you a couple of other examples on how you can use this without the need to go through and create your own custom templates. That's how we use the repeater region widget using dynamic content for Elementor. It's a very powerful widget, and Advanced Custom Fields Pro and the repeater regions really do open up a whole ton of opportunities to create more versatile websites. Now, as always, all the applicable links for this plugin and anything else we cover on the channel are all in that description below, so you can check those out. They are affiliate links, they help support the channel, but they cost you no more money if you use any of them. Now, speaking of the description below, if you want to be kept up to date with the new videos that we add to the playlist for dynamic content for Elementor, keep checking that out because I'll put a link to those in every single video as it's uploaded and update all the previous videos with the new details as well. Well, as always, my name's been Paul C. This has been WPTuts. Until next time, take care.